Okay, let's go talk to Ellie-Jo from Idaho. Ellie-Jo from Idaho. Ellie-Jo sounds like you ought to be from the South with a name like Ellie-Jo. Where are
Nope,
you
not
from?
from the South.
How'd you get Ellie-Jo?
I am
I'm
from
from the
Washington
South.
State.
You are everybody. I'm from the South. Everybody has everybody has the double names in the South, but I love them. So I'm glad to talk to Ellie-Jo.
Excellent. Hey, I just
Good.
want to start out by saying that I think you're a rock star. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm not a rock star at production though. I'm trying to hold down this one man studio. I don't know what happened to Finley. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you remember we got Finley at 10 weeks old about 4 months ago. No, 3 months ago or so. I think she just turned 6 months. You can see how big she's getting. Anyway, she's barking, so I hope that's over. Ellie-Jo, how can I help you? Tell me what I can do.
Okay, I'm about 12 years into my recovery from pretty severe anxiety and depression that led me to really isolate and be kind of a hermit. But I'm 12 years away from that, and I feel like I'm doing pretty good in the general population.
You
but
sound
recently
great.
I noticed, thank you. My voice is a little shaky. I'm pretty nervous to be talking to you, but so I'm doing pretty good in the general population. Oh, you don't bite? Okay, thank you. I've been in a lot of small groups. I've led small groups. I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I reach out to people that I recognize have similar problems as me, and I grow from hearing their stories. But what's happened recently is that, or my question is, I feel like I lose my place in recovery when I'm in the presence of a man that I would like to be romantically linked to. It's as if I've forgotten everything. And it's kind of disruptive. And it signals to me that though I'm doing pretty good in the general population, there's more healing for me.
Yeah.
That perhaps I'm not quite as.
What do you mean when you say I forgot everything? What do you forget?
Well, my behavior would indicate that the heart lessons that I've had with people pleasing, that I am enough, that I don't need to be perfect in front of people. That's a lesson that I take with me, and that's why I say I think I got it going on. But then lately, when this happened, it's like, oh, I'm not as far along as I thought.
Okay, well, let me point out something that you've told me, and I want you to think about it, is in the list of places where you experience yourself as really doing well, which is fantastic. You said you've led groups, you reach out to people, you can see what their needs are, you do all. Remember that list of high functioning areas you got going on?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. In all of those, you're, for lack of a better word, you're kind of giving.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. So what happens? Why do I get unplugged?
Well, let me tell you a little secret here. When we're giving and serving and teaching and leading, we're in the strong position. We're not, it's in a bad thing, but we're not vulnerable. We're not wanting something. We're not needing anything. Now, you're floating along and all of a sudden, Calvin Klein model shows up or whatever. Right? Now, all of a sudden, you flipped into, I want him. I want his attention. I want to go out with him. I want him to notice me and all this. And you go into a vulnerable state. That's awesome. I'm glad you do. That means you're alive. Can you say Thank God I'm alive?
Thank God I'm alive.
Yeah, thank God you're alive. Okay. Now, here's a question. There are parts of us. There are strong parts, creative parts, intellectual parts, weak parts, wounded parts, needy parts, desirous parts, all of that. Sex role identity parts, desirability in sex roles and stuff like that. So it may be you haven't forgotten anything at all, but there are healings from certain parts of yourself that you've experienced that you haven't experienced from other parts of yourself. Okay. So it'd be like in our home, there's more than one room here. Well, if we're gonna clean the place up, and about midday there might be a couple of rooms that look pretty good. Well, you walk down the hall, oops, hadn't had time to get there yet, have we? So you hadn't had time to get to this part. I don't see that as failure at all. I see it as an open door to a great opportunity to go get healed wherever let's call it your romantic seeking heart got injured. Now, sometimes that can be developmental. It can be rejection by a parent. Sometimes it can be trauma based. It can be from abuse or stuff like that. Sometimes it can simply be lack of experience. It's like the first time. It's like when the kid's sitting in class and they're 12 years old or 13 and she looks over and there's that boy, Well, that's a vulnerability part that's wakening up. Maybe it never got trained, never had experience, didn't go to the parties, didn't, I don't know, spin the bottle or whatever you had to do to kind of like, go to the birthday party, hang out with, go to the prom. I don't know what it is, whatever. So I just think you got to look at this area of your life. I want to talk to your counselor and say, I want to look at my history here in my relationship with men and what happens when I want somebody. Why do I fear rejection? What are the ways it taught me to fear that? Who did it? Where's the woundedness? What risks do I need to take? And to your point, what are some of these resiliency skills that I've used in the other rooms of the house? Can I now take into those moments? So that's what I want you to do. I want you to get my book, How to Get a Date Worth Keeping, and it'll help guide you through some of those areas. Does that help?
Okay. Yes, that sounds great.
Ellie-Jo,
I think the biggest thing is not to. Thank you. I think the biggest thing that is my takeaway is not. I heard you say the other day, don't have a problem with your problem, and that's been super helpful. And I think if I can get more experience in being in front. Yeah, because I think I should be farther along. And so when this happened, it's like, well, what's going on with you? So yeah, I think I
tell you what.
Have that.
By and large, the phrase "I should be farther along" is a very good phrase. If the ingredients of a process that usually bring people along have been applied. And then if the person's not progressing, then that's not a judgment, that's a diagnostic sentence that says, at this point, I should be farther along and I'm not. Let's go find out why. Most times when people say that, it's a judgment on themselves. And so I would ask you, if you think I should be farther along, I would ask you, why? Maybe you should, I don't know, but why? And if you told me the structured healing path to this little, I want the Calvin Klein guy, or preacher or preacher of the year, or put him in a blender, where I get both. And you've done all this work in this area and this, that, and the other for a while, and you weren't experiencing healing, then I would say, you know what, it should be working by now. Let's find out what's missing. but don't judge it. Use it diagnostically. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure.
I was sick last.
And when you say that, it's like I haven't dated for years.
Right.
Years.
And you haven't been working on it.
So it's just.
So why the hell should you be farther along? What is this, magic?
Exactly. Exactly. This should have been expected. It's like
magic wand here, Ellie-Jo, you're healed. I wish. I hope. I don't know how maturity and woundedness gets instantly healed. That's something that the Bible talks about. We gain through experience and strengthening, and all the psychiatric research in the world would validate that. Okay, so go to boundaries.me. There's a lot of courses on this. There's a course on there on dating as well. Sign up for boundaries.me. There's a course on this. You can instantly watch it.